Imagine this. A company's stock skyrockets over 1,700% in a month after pivoting to crypto. And then, bam, trading is completely frozen by regulators. So what's the deal? Let's unpack what really happened to QMMM. So it all kicked off with this pretty dramatic announcement from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. And let me tell you, a trading halt is a big deal. But the real P word to focus on here, potential manipulation. That's the SEC basically saying, hold on, something doesn't smell right here. It tells you there's way more to this story. So what on earth led to this sudden freeze? Yeah, to get to the bottom of it, we need to rewind the tape a bit and look at exactly what happened.
All right, so first up, that absolutely insane 1,700% crypto surge.
Okay, so the date to remember is September 9th. This is when QMM Holdings, a company that was, flying pretty under the radar, suddenly drops this massive announcement. They're pivoting hard, and they're going all in on crypto. And look, this wasn't just some vague press release. They laid out a whole plan. They said they were going to buy and hold the big names, Bitcoin, Ether, Solana. They were also going to build their own crypto analytics platform. And to top it all off, they put their money where their mouth was, earmarking an initial $100 million to start stockpiling these assets. A pretty big deal. So how did the market react? Well, it was explosive. I mean, look at that number, plus 1,730%. That one figure says it all. A gain like that in about a month is just wow. And you better believe that kind of jump gets a lot of attention, and not just from happy investors. And this chart really puts it into perspective. We're talking about a stock that was just kind of chilling at around $6.50. A month later, it closes at almost $120. That's not a climb, that's a straight-up rocket launch. But here's the twist. The fuel powering that rocket, that's what's now under a microscope.
Because that rocket ship was about to hit a brick wall. And this is where the story gets really interesting. We're going to get into the real investigation.
So you have to ask, right? Was the problem the crypto strategy itself? Was the SEC just cracking down on any company that even mentions Bitcoin? Well, not so fast. According to market analyst Carl Capolingua, the answer is a pretty firm no. He says the crypto plan itself probably wasn't the issue. The real problem, the thing that set off all the alarms, was the alleged illegal stock promotion. So what do they mean by stock manipulation? Well, the SEC laid it out pretty clearly. They're alleging that some unknown persons were all over social media telling everyone to buy QMM shares. The whole point, they claim, was to artificially inflate the price and the trading volume. It's a classic pump scheme, basically. And this is a super important distinction to make. On one hand, you have the company announcing a plan to buy crypto. That's a business strategy, totally legit. But on the other hand, you have what's being alleged, using social media to artificially pump up a stock's price. That's a potentially illegal activity. Two totally different ballgames. Now, it's important to realize that this whole QUMM situation isn't just a one-off. It's actually part of a much wider trend that regulators are watching very, very closely. I mean, just look at this number. Over 200 companies. That's how many have recently announced plans similar to QMM's, to add crypto to their balance sheets. It's a huge trend. And whenever you get that much buzz and that much money moving around, you can bet regulators are going to start paying attention. And that scrutiny is definitely happening. We know the SEC and FINRA have been reaching out to a bunch of these so-called crypto treasury firms. What are they looking for? Things like weirdly high trading volume, right before a big public announcement, stuff that might suggest somebody knew something the rest of us didn't. Okay, so we've looked at the company, the allegations, the bigger picture. What does all of this actually mean for you, for investors? I think analyst Tony Sycamore nails it with this quote. He basically says if you want to get into crypto, chasing these kinds of stocks that just explode overnight, well, it's a Hail Mary play. It's a massive gamble and probably not the most sound way to go about it. All right, so let's boil it all down. What are the key takeaways here? First, and this is the big one, the QMM trading halt was about alleged stock promotion, not their crypto strategy. That's key. Second, regulators are absolutely scrutinizing companies that make this crypto pivot. And third, maybe the most important lesson of all, just because a stock price is going to the moon, it doesn't mean there's a solid strategy behind it. And that really leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? In a market that's just swimming in hype, How do you separate what's real, a real solid strategy, from what's just pure speculation? That's something to really think about.